If you've watched simple flying videos long enough, you'll at some point have heard us reading out aircraft registrations using words rather than letters. For example, British Airways has an Airbus A350-1000 registered GXWBS, but we read it as Golf X-Ray Whiskey Bravo Sierra. In the aviation world, registrations are spoken in this manner. But what's the story behind this? Well, the words that you hear being spoken to represent letters are called the phonetic alphabet. This is what we'll explore for today's video. The phonetic alphabet is the lifeblood of controller/pilot communications, and every member of the flying community worldwide learns the phonetic alphabet in basic training. The phonetic alphabet is a staple of not just aviation, but also the military and other fields that communicate via radio. But in the context of this channel, in many ways aviation and radio telephony grew together during the World War era, and radio phonetics and aviation, as well as naval operations, are inextricably linked. In the 1920s, the International Telecommunication Union, or ITU, produced the first phonetic alphabet to be recognized internationally. It featured names of cities across the globe. Reading them off quickly, they were Amsterdam, Baltimore, Casablanca, Denmark, Edison, Florida, Gallipoli, Havana, Italia, Jerusalem, Kilogram, Liverpool, Madagascar, New York, Oslo, Paris, Quebec, Roma, Santiago, Tripoli, Uppsala, Valencia, Washington, Xanthip, Yokohama, and Zurich. On the military side, the United States adopted a joint Army/Navy phonetic alphabet called the Able-Baker alphabet after the first two code words. This was used across all American military branches in 1941. Then, 2 years later, the British Royal Air Force decided to use the Able-Baker alphabet as well. Again, listing these off quickly, they are Able, Baker, Charlie, Dog, Easy, Fox, George, Howe, Item, Jig, King, Love, Mike, Nan, Oboe, Peter, Queen, Roger, Sugar, Tear, Uncle, Victor, William, X-Ray, Yoke, and Zebra. A common criticism of these alphabets was that they were rather English in composition, and so something was done to address this. The currently used and globally accepted phonetic alphabet traces its origins back to 1951. As the world emerged from the Second World War, military aviation gave way to civil aviation as the primary source of air traffic. There was a great deal of dissatisfaction with language barriers and the unintelligibility of the phonetics that were carryovers from wartime. Accordingly, the newly formed International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO, proposed a new universal phonetic alphabet. While it might feel that the words used to represent the 26 letters of the English alphabet are random, there was actually some thought put into it, particularly to address the shortcomings of the previous phonetic alphabets used. Representatives from ICAO worked with the well-known Canadian linguistics professor Jean-Paul Vinet from 1948 to 1949 to form this new phonetic alphabet. The project's goal was to create an alphabet with similar words in the trade languages of the time: English, French, and Spanish. The words used needed to also be live in each of the respective languages. The ICAO and the many countries that abide by its standardization first adopted the Vinet solution in 1951. Subsequently, however, a few changes were made to the letters C, M, N, U, and X. The letter C was Coca, M was Metro, N was Nectar, U was Union, and X was Extra. In case you're not familiar with all of the letters that have been adopted and are still in use today, let's quickly go over them now. Do feel free to skip to this part of the video if you already know. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Mike, November, Oscar, Papa, Quebec, Romeo, Sierra, Tango, Uniform, Victor, Whiskey, X-Ray, Yankee, and finally, Zulu. On 21st of February 1956, NATO member states were advised that this phonetic alphabet would go into effect on March 1st of the same year, clearly not allowing much transition time. Nonetheless, the International Telecommunication Union formally adopted it a few years later, making it the established universal phonetic alphabet governing all military, civilian, and amateur radio communications. As it was NATO allies who had spearheaded the final revision, it became known from that point on as the NATO alphabet. Now, we should note that law enforcement officers, the police, have their own phonetic alphabet. While it's slightly off-topic, you might be interested to know that the police alphabet comes from an April 1940 newsletter released by the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials International. Just a few examples of this alphabet from letters A through H are Adam, Boy, Charles, David, Edward, Frank, George, Henry. Even after the NATO alphabet came into use, local and state police departments continued to use the police alphabet to transmit information such as license plate numbers over the radio. But getting back to the NATO phonetic alphabet, letters aren't the only linguistic specialty. In fact, some numbers are also pronounced in a way that delineates them from similar-sounding words. Specifically, 3, 5, and 9 are pronounced tree, fife, and niner. Other numbers are pronounced commonly, but many pilots and controllers, in the US at least, don't bother with these three unique pronunciations because radios transmit more clearly than they did decades ago when the pronunciations were introduced for the sake of clarity. Flight numbers read over the radio are always pronounced in group form, that is, two numbers are grouped whenever possible. Flight 3447 would be pronounced as Flight 3447. When the flight is three numbers, such as 713, the last two numbers are grouped, Flight 713. Flight numbers with 1 or 2 digits are read normally in the phonetic world outside of aviation. Pilots and controllers will have fun with call signs occasionally. For instance, Flight 888 might be referred to as Flight 888 by some parties. The phonetic alphabet and established numerical standards create a universal intelligible method for pilots and controllers to communicate the world over. Language barriers still exist, but the standard phraseology for letters and numbers significantly aids in creating a shared understanding between the sender and the receiver of a radio message. The result is a safer and more efficient global airspace system for pilots and passengers. The International Ship Engineering Service Association, or ISES, notes the importance of the use of the NATO phonetic alphabet by stating, "The NATO phonetic alphabet substitutes a code word acrophonically for each letter of the English alphabet so that letters and numbers would have distinct names that would be most easily understood by those who exchange voice messages, regardless of language or pronunciation differences or the quality of the communication channel." So, before watching this video, did you know the NATO phonetic alphabet? And did you know the history behind it all? Let us know by leaving a comment. Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.